then why should we overcharge people? And you think M-Pesa is expensive. M-Pesa is not. There are clubs. There's a club in Kilimani today. By the end of today, they are going to lose 132,000 shillings for accepting money. Not even moving for accepting.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking to myself, if I was to save this guy 70% of the transaction fees, that means the chicken that was supposed to be sold in that in that club tonight, transaction fees will have paid for it. Now imagine that is one day.
Jeez,
what can that do over a long time? And that's why HecoPay is here. That's why we're building what you're building. I don't want to talk about this, but then I think it's important. It's important to us to see the value of what you're missing. Because, I mean, really, why are you sending data and costing me this much?
Preach.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah, it's like you're swindling people.
Yeah.
It's
so just an overview. What are some of the craziest trends in the fintech space that I guess Kenyans should know of? Especially younger Kenyans.
So there's so many things. There are things like data, and Kenyans are now getting concerned with data. A bank is sending you a text message. You did not ask them to send you a message. So you now banks have been taken to court. We're innovating different things. BNPL, buy now pay later, is about to be regulated by CMA with CBK. They're still looking at under that sandbox. There's also the National Payments Service. Looking at how do we harmonize payments. Things like PesaLink, which I think we can now go into deep trends. There is what I really want CBK to open up to, and that's open banking.
Right.
Because if you only have one payment trail from M-Pesa to banks, which is PesaLink, and what happens when PesaLink services are down? We need an alternative, right? And some of these things, and now this is where open banking comes in. Tanzania and Uganda are going to beat us in this space. And it's an innovation. And remember I was telling you about gatekeeping innovation in the fintech space. Because now, in fact, Tanzania opened their open banking, their sandbox, so that if you have an idea on fintech and all that, you can send and then come and then they'll listen and get an interview with you and then see how that comes about. You can't do that with CBK. If you're doing that to CBK, I remember where I like to call my previous company where I was a director at as my ex. I remember where I was when I was with my ex. We went to the CBK and guess what? A lawyer tells us.
Girlfriend.
Yo, just keep quiet.
So when you were with your ex, you went with them to the CBK.
We went to the CBK and to find a way of, because we're in innovation. How do you treat us? Because you're both in fintech, we're both in payments, we are also in BNPL. At the same time, we are in e-commerce. So we are an ecosystem, and that's the same thing I'm building, right? So how then do you treat us? I remember I even went to IRA, Insurance Regulators Authority, and let me tell you, Kenyans, I think our authorities have one thing: fines and money. You always give us money fast without listening and to understand. But you see the likes of Tanzania and Uganda, they're actually now calling people to come. There's a Kenyan company, I don't know what's its name, went to, is it Lesotho? And right now they control more than 30% of the market in fintech. So the one thing I'm telling guys is, it has to be more than what the innovation that you're building and you're bringing in. Can it work beyond Kenya?
Yeah.
And that's why I started by saying, for me to test what I'm building, I had to go Homa Bay. And I didn't just stop in Homa Bay. I went to Kikuyu, Makueni, and all these places. Guess what? I was in a place in Kikuyu, and this is one of my favorite stories. The building is painted green, but then there's a sticker there. M-Pesa is not accepted here.
No way.
I'm serious, by the way.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yet everybody in Kenya recognizes green.
Green is M-Pesa.
M-Pesa shop.
You know, what people don't understand is M-Pesa is only big in the satellite towns, Nairobi and the so forth. The other guys, if you give them value, if you ask my grandmother, she prefer cash or not? She'll prefer cash, because why is she going to be charged extra money? She doesn't need the convenience.
I agree.
So even innovation has to work with culture, and that's why I think it's also important to talk about why are venture capitals funding expatriates in Kenya. And also funding imitations in Kenya, because we need to understand innovation is different from imitation. And that's why with $5 billion invested, and then $5 billion meogelea na maji, because guys are funding imitations. In fact, I asked them this during a Microsoft event last year, and they didn't like me.
That innovation thing, speak about a company like Copia, and so guys can understand exactly the clarity of what you mean by saying why are people funding innovations and why some of these companies have left, especially like Copia.
So people are funding venture capitals in Africa. Let me be very sincere. Are funding imitations, and when you look at, for example, and let's say if last year Kenya was the amount of money that was company received was $1 billion, 96% of that went to whites in Kenya. The other 3% was now to the black guys who studied abroad, and then the 1% is now us, which you never get money. So guys are like, hey, you guys in fintech getting money? It's like, we're not. But then this is what happens. See, a white guy, let me talk about Kune Food, for example.
Yeah.
You remember when Kune Food came and there was a white guy behind it? Copia team still, another white guy. So this is what happens. I think I love that we have foreigners in our country and they're doing many things, but our culture is very different. I understand JP's problem more than that person can. So, Copia looked at what Amazon has in the States. When you read Bezonomics, Amazon was now creating agency ecosystem very well, and they're making it sure that if you're going to do deliveries and you're doing it well. And then when you look at the model by way of Copia, I think it was a very solid model, but it had one problem. This is a copy. And then ask JP, if you're going to buy a phone today, are you going to buy the phone online or are you going to buy a phone from the shop? You see, if in Africa, are you going to ask Mama to bring, are you going to get veggies from Mama or are you going to order them? So the biggest question is, do we need e-commerce in that?
Yeah.
Those are some of those things you need to talk about. Because even if you're going to buy your unga, you're going to think about, I want to understand the different brands. Sometimes you're looking at what are the different offers, and nobody's looking to pay all these fees. And that's the problem. We need to understand that innovation is very different from imitation. M-Pesa was an innovation in Africa. And understand this. The reason why M-Pesa did not succeed in Europe is because Europe had strong postal, so that when you can't get a bank without a postal address in Europe. But in Kenya, how many guys have postal address? Apart from ile una register company alafu unadanganyana
460 00100. Kuna kitu umesema hapa Felix inanichanganya akili kidogo. So fine. To answer your question, if I want to buy a mobile phone, I'll go there to the shop.
Exactly.
And kuishika. So you're trying to tell us e-commerce is not needed?
E-commerce is needed, but it's needed on how we are doing it now. We're doing it on business B2B.
Okay.
Population is not a market. Understand that. Bigger population doesn't guarantee a big market. Unless you're in a country like Nigeria, when it's too populated. But you're in Kenya, right? So we have a population. But even that Jumia listed is listed in New York Stock Exchange. Their shares have been plummeting more than 100% difference. So why was that happening? There was a company that was doing what is it, like taxi for Matatu, was from Egypt. What was its name?
Oh, the one, I think they also had whatever in Kenya.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I know the one
you're so innovative. I forget its name, but
you could book, right?
Yes.
But guess what? Did we really need it? We didn't.
Yeah, it was here too soon.
Those guys are called Swivel.
Swivel. Thank you.
Nice one.
Yes. Guys, did you know that before Uber penetrated the US market, especially New York, they couldn't because of the yellow taxis. The yellow cabs were big. So it's a question, yes, we need taxes, right? But do we need that in that particular place? So Uber had a problem in the US to penetrate that market because the yellow taxis always moving around. But in Kenya, we didn't. We really needed. You see, like now, if you look at, for example, the taxi business in Kenya, that's an innovative space, and that's why the likes of Taxify or now Bolt are still in the market. Ferraccin is in the market. Uber is here. Little Cab is here, right? And other guys will still want to come in. That space, that there is innovation around it because you really need to spend time. But did we really need e-commerce? To be very honest, on a human to human level, if you told me that the e-commerce that you're looking for is I'm getting a product from the UK, from Germany, from China to Kenya, then that is going to work. That is going to make sense because I'm thinking of there's some guys when you compare an iPhone that you're going to buy and versus what is in China, you're like let me import. That makes sense, right? But before that, I don't think we need it here. And that's the problem of innovation versus imitation. We need innovations, but innovation also has to work with culture.
Yeah.
Because our cultures are very different. I always say, yes, we're in Africa, right? We have more than 54 different cultures. And in Kenya, out of the 54 countries, and now in Kenya alone, we have 33 different cultures. So what you're selling to me may not sell to the other person. Same case with learning. So there's so many things that we really need to look into when it comes to payments, fintech, and all that. There's so much.
Speaking of payments, are we adopting, cryptocurrencies on a blockchain at an advanced level? Or we're still in its infancy? Because you're talking about how, I mean, I like what you said. A population, just a huge population doesn't necessarily mean like it's a market.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about crypto, right, is it rife in Kenya or we still need time?
Any country in the world that the dollar keeps fluctuating, and they have nothing to do, they can't fight the dollar on the fluctuation or plumation, will always adopt crypto. I want to give you a small scenario. Last month in December, we were going to an event, Clutch Foundry, and I remember I'm taking a matatu from Questlands, and I'm asking this driver, is this matatu, will it leave me to a particular place in Kilimani? I was like, yes. But before, now I hopped into the matatu, and I was not talking to him. The guy is trading USDT. That's a dairy.
That's interesting.
I was like, wait a minute. You see, in Kenya, in fact, Kenya and Nigeria leads control the biggest transaction volumes in crypto. So in Africa, we need crypto because crypto now solving some of those problems we didn't have. Like, you look at your currency, how it's getting devalued and all that. But then if you're talking crypto, isn't M-Pesa crypto? Because what is crypto? Digital money, right?
Yes.
But M-Pesa is digital money.
Yes.
So if we're talking about crypto, the first country, in fact, to go really big in crypto was Kenya. If you're now being real to it, because we're the guys that actually went, was like, okay, we're not doing card thing, we're just doing cash to cash. And then, the whole crypto, we started with what I call Hewala system, where when it's based on Muslim ecosystem where I don't have money, but I'm going to send to the other person. So it's like a debt kind of thing that we're sending money. The same principle that M-Pesa is based on, the same principle that now crypto is now being based on. Now we're seeing so many things. We're looking at stable coins that are now stabilizing against the dollar. We're looking at Bitcoin doing 100,000 from one. And guys,
dollars.
Check this.
Yeah.
President of El Salvador, look at how many Bitcoins he bought. The guy, the same president, has made more than 128% profit because of buying Bitcoin. So he was now trying to protect the currency of El Salvador with Bitcoin. So you can imagine where Bitcoin is. In fact, the last time I looked at that account, it was about $36 million. And I was like, damn. This president knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And now, so those are some of those
Bitcoin
new
is very
trends.
volatile.
Huh?
Generally, it's high risk, isn't it?
Everything is risk.
It's true.
Even breathing is a risk.
Yeah. It's true.
Everything is a risk.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the difference is that we really need to look at how is crypto solving our different problems, because we're now looking at things like tokenization of assets, where we can look at Standard, and I'm thinking Standard would want to do a rights issue in the stock exchange. So instead of doing the traditional way, he can do it on the crypto side, where it's now going to do this right issue, and says the value of our company is worth let's say 100 million Kenyan shillings, right? So each unit is going to go for 2 shillings. So that means we're selling about 200 million units. So someone is now in crypto, someone is going to buy based on that. No, the beauty about crypto is, you're going to get your returns direct. You don't have to disturb people in terms of getting to management. And some of those things you see companies being bullied into, you find someone, if you're not doing my bidding well, or if you didn't do a deal together, some of those few things happen here and there, and company goes kapush. But crypto now is giving us the aspect of that we can actually now own assets differently.
Okay.
There is a Akon city that was being built. Of course, Akon now, I feel like he was just coming.
That was a flop, though.
I feel like it was coming those people. But there's a project that some of those projects are now happening. We can now come up with a city in terms of a project, and then decide that, okay, it's a 1 billion project. Let's invite people to buy in. And because it's on crypto, when you get rent, you get real-time payment. So I think the one thing that you can't ignore is whether we like it or not. I know CBK and the guys in CBK do not want to listen to this, but I'll tell them this. And if the president is listening to this, you can't give us old people and put old people there and expect them to understand innovation. I mean, in fact, worldwide, the only company that understands innovation on the crypto side has been JP Morgan. JP, eh?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So when you look at what Damon has been doing with JP Morgan in crypto, and not just crypto, but even climate tech, it's massive. This is a guy who understands that this is the direction where the line where things are going. And what is he going to do? He's putting JP Morgan, the largest bank in the world by capitalization, and he's telling them, we're putting money here. And guess what's happening? We're seeing growth. And the one thing that you can't do, all other banks can innovate, but you can't beat JP Morgan because they'll always be ahead. And that's the one thing we need to understand. You see, when CBK is telling us that, crypto is not accepted in Kenya, what is Trump doing? With the likes of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Is it a coin or is it a meme coin? Yeah. Elon Musk he now called himself on X, did Musk something, and then his work is to go and go to that. And what that guy has done is that meme coin has gathered value because it's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
So can you imagine we are chasing after innovation because there are things we have to really.
So basically, what you're telling us is traditional banks in Kenya are very slow to adapt to all these new fintech solutions.
Banks in Kenya. Oh my God! I was going to get a letter, a reference letter, and the bank was charging me 1,800 shillings, and the checkbook I'm being charged 720. I was like, the reference letter I'm going to get it today. The checkbook I'm going to get it after some few days. Then I was like, but I'm not going to. Every time I'm going to get a reference letter, so I'm going to pay 1,800 shillings. 1,800 for a letter.
These guys are living in
like and I don't even understand this. A company has been registered by the Kenyan laws, and for you to open a bank account as a company, you have to pay 1,000 shillings to a bank. And I'm like, I mean, let me just go PG here. Really? Like, let's be honest. I mean, these are some of those things that we really need to talk about. Banks are very slow.
Yeah.
But me, I love when banks are slow.
Why do you like that?
What? I mean, payments. I mean,
it's
Fintech.
True. Because you're a boss now. So,
open banking. I mean, it's only a matter of time. There is also neo-banking.
Yeah.
And look at Revolut. Revolut is now bigger than most banks in Europe. They're barely 10 years old.
Yeah. All right, Felix, I got to cut you short. Hold it right there. Here, this conversation is immediate.
It's fire.
If you know what I mean.
It's expensive.
Guys, we are hanging out with Felix Ochuoga. He's the founder of Hekope. And we're talking all things new fintech trends, core banking, and open banking. But I also have some very good news for you. It's all about Naivas, back to school. And now, get this. The new school term is just... It's actually, we're in that season now.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not even right around the corner. It's really happening.
It's here.
And this is the beginning of the 2025 calendar, school calendar. And of course, we are very, very aware that planning for shopping and, Mambo ya Shule back to school can be very heinous. You spend so much money during the holidays and, of course, the New Year's. So, yeah, it's been crazy for you. But because of that, Naivas are jumping in and they're saying they want to ease your stress. Naivas Supermarket, by the way, acknowledges all of this. And they aim to ease the burden of the back to school shopping in its bid to continuously meet and exceed the needs of the customer. Now, one thing you got to know is that Naivas supermarkets have been in this game for 34 years. They've been dealing with this back to school manenos for generations of learners.
Yeah, man.
Yes, including for our parents.
34 years is many years.
That's a lot of years, man.
A lot of years.
Your neighbors here, by the way.
It's true. It's true. Now, I just want to tell you that you should visit any Naivas outlet countrywide from the 3rd, of course, 3rd was last week Friday, to the 9th of January for the best deals and offers on back to school essentials that you can find anywhere in the country. JP, we're looking for the third caller.
Third caller, man. If
Why
you're the
do
third
that?
caller, you just call us and tell us what are the 3 things that you would put in your shopping basket. You know,
Exactly.
randomly, whenever you're doing your shopping for your toy, your nephew, your niece.
Yeah.
Those 3 things.
Yeah.
Na manze isikue mzinga achana nayo kwanza for now.
Essentials.
Essentials, yeah, please for the kids.
Books.
Yeah, there was time for
Stationery,
boozy, never
yeah.
sorted you out during Christmas. So now, kindly, let's focus.
Yes.
Yeah, tell us those 3 things that you would put in your shopping basket.
Yeah.
And stand a chance to win. The third caller is the one that we're going to be awarding later on
Yes,
the show.
exactly. Yeah, this hour we're going to open the phone lines. Like JP has said, the third caller unatupigia simu, and then you tell us some of the most amazing things, your favorite things to put in that shopping basket for the sake of your kid, your brother, your sister, your little cousin.
Yeah.
I guess even the university students.
Right.
Even those are students.
wanachukua stationery pia and stuff.
I can't say what to you, but they're young.
They're learners.
The learners.
Yes.
So that's why we're coming back with a conversation with Felix Ochuoga. He's our power player of this evening. He's the founder of HecoPay. We're talking, like I said, all things new fintech trends, co-banking, and open banking. Right now, Sage, Octopizo, so alive. It's 8:01.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.